Playbook. Oh, okay, okay, okay. You just got me here staring at the camera, Paul? Okay, all right. We are marching to Zion. That was the culminating point of the message from Sunday from Hebrews chapter 12, verses 18 through 24. In those verses, the writer compares two prominent mountains from biblical history, Mount Sinai and Mount Zion, both representing fundamentally different ways that God has interacted with his people. Mount Sinai represented God coming down in a terrible and awesome fashion to give the law, the old covenant, if you will. He came down in such a awesome spectacle to show the seriousness with which he expected them to adhere to his law, all the while understanding that because of the sin in their hearts, they would eventually turn from him, abandon the covenant, and serve idol gods. But God had already had another plan in mind. He had another mountain that would not be defined by him coming in fire and smoke and trumpet blast and separation and distance from the people. This mountain, Mount Zion, would be not one of intimidation, but of intimacy. And at Mount Zion, in Hebrews 12:21 through 24, it talks about Mount Zion being defined by a city where we will see the living God, a congregation of innumerable angels, the righteous and the firstborn, whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life. And not only a city and a congregation, but to Christ himself, the mediator of the new covenant. The old covenant at Sinai was signified by law, while the new covenant at Zion is signified by God's grace. And so blood was involved in both. The blood of a bull to bind them in the Old Testament, but the blood of the Lamb to wash and sprinkle us in the new covenant. And so what the writer wants to convey, he tells us at the end of chapter 12 that we ought to worship God with reverence and in awe because we have been made a part of an unshakable kingdom. When the final judgment comes and God judges the earth, shakes it, if you will, only those things that have been secured in Christ will survive. Jesus says in John 10 that we are in his hand and no one can pluck us out. So join me in thanking God for allowing us to be a part of his unshakable kingdom. And even though our God is a consuming fire, that fire that we will face is not to consume us, but to cleanse us and to make us ready to live forever with him. Continue this journey with us through the book of Hebrews as we move towards its conclusion in chapter 13. As always, I encourage you to walk by faith and not by sight.